The Wii console has been subject to a lot of criticism, and not to say that criticism has been unfair, especially with the year 2009 being a very weak year for the Wii itself. People will tell you, well, Nintendo has been lazy in development with the console, or that they're not quite up to par with quality. And while there may be some fair criticisms to what's being said, I'm going to still tell you why the Wii is still a fantastic console. So, to begin off, let's talk about software. The software for the Wii includes some of the best software ever made. And we can split it down into 3 sections. We can talk about the retro games, ports, and natively made games for the Wii. Let's talk about retro games. When we talk about retro games, we talk about 2 sections here. We talk about the Virtual Console games, and we talk about the GameCube games. Now, Virtual Console games happen to have some of the best games, critically acclaimed, so to say, ever made. We're talking about games like Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time. We're talking about Super Mario 64, Super Mario 3, etc., etc., etc. You get the picture. The GameCube games, while some people can criticize the quality, are still some very top-notch games. And one of the things can be said about GameCube games is that their backwards compatibility on the Wii, and that's a lot to say about a game these days because the Xbox doesn't have backwards compatibility, it only has software emulation, and PS3 dropped their support for backwards compatibility in order to make the price cheaper. Now, one of the things we can talk about is ports. Now, some people will tell you, well, why would we bother talking about ports? If I can get this game on another console, so be it. But the experience that you get from the Wii and playing some of these ports are really, well, make it more refined game. One good example is Resident Evil 4 for the Wii. And one of the things that allows you to do is aim with the Wii remote. And that's something that people really seem to really enjoy. People will tell you this is the definitive version of Resident Evil 4. And quite frankly, I can see what they're talking about. Now personally, I prefer Bully, Scholarship Edition, which was initially developed for the PS2. But then Rockstar decided to port it over to the Wii and Xbox 360. When we talk about the Wii version, they added some extra nice, nifty controls to it. With the motion controls, you can actually punch with your nunchuck and your Wii remote, which is a really satisfying feeling when you just punch these guys in the face. It's nice watching them bleed. And then sometimes you'll just get a slingshot and you'll just kind of aim and then it's boom. And it's really breaking this kind of this fourth wall for a lot of people, making the games of the old games that were initially on the original system, make it kind of ancient, archaic, backwards compared to these ports that have been put onto the Wii. Then we talk about the natively made games for the Wii. Now when we talk about the natively made games, we can talk about some of the best games of this generation. Right, and especially right now, probably one of the best games ever made, Super Mario Galaxy. While it's not quite to my taste, it's definitely critically acclaimed to just about everyone else. They'll tell you, wow, Super Mario Galaxy is like this big innovation. The idea of having gravity centered theme, which seems to really gravitate a lot of people to the idea of this 3D Mario game. Now, one of the things that people will definitely talk about for a game that's going to give you a lot of quality for your money, Super Smash Bros. Brawl. And according to records, there's about an average of the average user gets about 60 hours into that game, which is definitely higher than the average games. I personally put about 233 hours into that game, which is pretty good, showing you how much quality and depth there is into that game.